Welcome to this edition of News Today, a series where we briefly discuss and analyze important news of the day. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. Prime Minister has launched citizen-centric information and technology initiatives during Diamond Jubilee celebration of Supreme Court. Government has planned to overhaul accreditation system for higher educational institutes. UN Conference on Trade and Development has raised an alarm on global trade disruptions. France has reiterated its support for India's permanent membership of United Nations Security Council. World's first white rhinoceros in vitro fertilization or IVF pregnancy could help in saving the subspecies. A MOU has been signed on modified Parvati Kali Sindh Chambal ERCP link project. Starting with the first news. Prime Minister has launched citizen-centric information and technology initiatives during Diamond Jubilee celebration of Supreme Court. These initiatives include digital Supreme Court reports that will make Supreme Court judgments available to citizens of the country free of cost and in electronic format. Digital Courts 2.0 under e-Courts project to make court records available to judges of district courts in electronic form and use of artificial intelligence for transcribing speech to text on a real-time basis. A new website of the Supreme Court available in both English and Hindi language, redesigned with a user-friendly interface. Rupees 800 crore approved for expansion of Supreme Court building complex. Since 2014, the government has disbursed more than Rs 7,000 crore for upgradation of physical infrastructure of courts. If we talk about the e-Court project, then it is an integrated mission mode project to transform Indian judiciary by information and communication technology enablement of courts. It is a pan-India project monitored and funded by the Department of Justice, Ministry of Law and Justice for district courts across the country. Now let's talk about the importance of information and technology in judiciary. It provides transparency in accessibility of information to its stakeholders. It enhances judicial productivity to make the justice delivery system affordable and cost-effective. And it reduces pendency by effectively managing cases. Let's also discuss some other initiatives for improving access to justice using technology. These initiatives include the National Judicial Data Grid, which includes database of orders, judgments, and cases, and is created as an online platform under e-Courts project. Also, there is National Service and Tracking of Electronic Processes developed for technology-enabled process serving and issuing of summons. AI-powered portal have also been developed in India, like Supreme Court Portal for assistance in courts efficiency and Supreme Court Vidhik Anuvad software, a machine-assisted translation tool trained by AI. Moving on to the next news. Government has planned to overhaul accreditation system for higher educational institutes. Recently, the Ministry of Education has accepted the proposed reforms in the accreditation system of higher educational institutes as recommended by Dr. Radhakrishnan Committee. The committee was formed to strengthen assessment and accreditation of higher educational institutes as envisioned in the National Education Policy 2020. Accreditation is an assessment of the quality of education. Let's also have a look at the existing accreditation system for higher educational institutes. University Grants Commission or UGC accords recognition to higher educational institutes under the UGC Act 1956. There is National Assessment and Accreditation Council or NAC, which is an autonomous institution of UGC for quality assurance in the functioning of higher educational institutes. There are also multiple agencies within the ambit of the Union government, and even some states have been mandated for periodic approvals, assessment, accreditation, and ranking of higher educational institutes. Now let's discuss and understand the key recommendation of Dr. Radhakrishnan Committee. One significant proposal is the introduction of a composite assessment system merging program accreditation and institutional accreditation. This aims to streamline and enhance the accreditation process. Another noteworthy recommendation is binary accreditation, offering a clear-cut distinction between accredited and non-accredited institutions, with a planned implementation within the next 4 months by NAC's Executive Committee. Also, no new applications will be accepted as per the present methodology thereafter. The committee also advocates for maturity-based graded accreditation, categorizing institutions into levels 1 to 5, encouraging them to evolve either in depth or in breadth in disciplines. The National Assessment and Accreditation Council has decided to implement it by December 2024. One Nation, One Data platform is proposed to ensure the integrity and transparency of institutional data. Additionally, the concept of stakeholder validation is introduced to effectively involve stakeholders in the accreditation and ranking processes. The committee suggests various other measures such as a choice-based ranking system for diverse users and a reduction in the periodicity of re-accreditation. Moving ahead, UN Conference on Trade and Development has raised an alarm on global trade disruptions. The UN Conference on Trade and Development points out that the Red Sea has witnessed recent attacks on ships, while geopolitical tensions in the Black Sea and the adverse effects of climate change on the Panama Canal are further complicating global trade dynamics. In a particularly alarming revelation, the Panama Canal is currently grappling with an unprecedented drought attributed to combined impact of climate change and periodic El Nino events. This has resulted in a substantial 36% reduction in total transit through the canal. The global implications of these disruptions are multifaceted. There is a noticeable decline in container, tanker, and gas carrier transits, accompanied by a surge in spot freight rates and insurance premiums. Rerouting of ships from the Suez and Panama Canal has led to increased transit time and costs. Moreover, reshaping has established trade patterns and causing a substantial shift in oil and grain trades. Prolonged interruptions in global supply chains are posing a direct threat, raising the risk of delayed deliveries and higher costs. This in turn has contributed to a surge in energy prices, global food prices, and an overall increase in the carbon footprint of maritime shipping. If we talk about its impact on India, then it has felt closer for the country, which imports around 85% of its petroleum requirements. The disruptions also affect international connectivity, impacting crucial projects like the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor. Additionally, with the European Union being India's second largest trading partner in 2022, there is a looming risk of trade disruption, inflation, and other economic challenges. In response to these challenges, several measures have been taken, including Operation Prosperity Guardian led by the USA, although India is not its member. The Indian Navy has systematically increased surveillance in the affected regions, and diplomatic outreach to crucial regional players, including Iran, is underway. Moving on to the next news. France has reiterated its support for India's permanent membership of United Nations Security Council. The United Nations Security Council was established by the UN Charter in 1945 and is one of the 6 principal organs of the UN with the primary responsibility for maintaining international peace and security. It is composed of 15 members, 5 permanent and 10 non-permanent members. Each member has 1 vote. Under the UN Charter, all member states are obligated to comply with Council decisions. Also, the Security Council has power to make binding decisions on member states. Now let's discuss and understand the need for United Nations Security Council reforms. Firstly, the Security Council retains same 5 permanent members since its creation in 1945 and does not reflect contemporary reality. Next, Council paralysis driven by geopolitical rivalry amongst permanent members and misuse of veto power. For example, Russia has vetoed UNSC resolutions on Ukraine. Also, there is an inadequate regional representation highlighted by lack of permanent members from either Africa or Latin America. Moreover, UNSC decisions or resolutions are binding on all member states, encouraging on the sovereignty of states. If we talk about India's key demand on reforms, then these include abolition of veto, equitable geographical representation of every region, expansion in both permanent and non-permanent memberships, and permanent membership to G4 members, which are Germany, Brazil, Japan, and India. In our next news, world's first white rhinoceros in vitro fertilization or IVF pregnancy could help in saving the subspecies. Scientists have announced the first successful embryo transfer in the white rhinoceros using IVF method that could save critically endangered northern white rhino subspecies from extinction. Let's also discuss some other biotechnologies to protect species. First, biobanks which store biological samples like cells and tissues for research and as backup resources to preserve genetic diversity. Next is biosynthesis, which creates substitutes for animal-derived products like safer fungicides from printed DNA to protect endangered species. And at last, gene drive that can be harnessed to eliminate invasive species like rats with high efficiency and minimal harm to native wildlife. Now let's know about rhinos. There are mainly 5 species of rhino, 2 African and 3 Asian. The 2 African rhinos are white rhino and black rhino, and the Asian rhinos include greater one-horned rhino or Indian rhino, Sumatran rhino and Javan rhino. They face threats from habitat loss, poaching for horn, and climate change. The white rhino and the Indian rhino exhibit distinct differences in various aspects. In terms of size, white rhinos are the second largest land mammals after elephants, while Indian rhinos stand as the largest among all Asian rhino species. The white rhino is characterized by its barrel-shaped body with a flat back, sporting two horns and often wallowing in mud. They have a habitat encompassing long and short grass savanna areas in grasslands. On the other hand, Indian rhinos are characterized by knobby skin that appears to be armor-plated and possess a single horn, showcase good swimming abilities, and have a habitat encompassing tropical and subtropical grasslands, savannas, and shrublands. Geographically, white rhinos are found in regions like Namibia, Uganda, and Rwanda, whereas Indian rhinos inhabit areas in India, in Assam, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, and in Nepal. Conservation-wise, white rhinos are labeled as near threatened by the IUCN, with the southern white rhino subspecies carrying the same designation, while Indian rhinos are classified as vulnerable by the IUCN and fall under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Moving on to the next news. A MOU has been signed on modified Parbati Kali Sindh Chambal ERCP link project. The Union Ministry of Jal Shakti signed a memorandum of understanding with state governments of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh for implementation of modified Parbati Kali Sindh Chambal Eastern Rajasthan Canal project. Let's start by first understanding about this project. In 2022, a special committee for river interlinking approved the proposal of a modified Parbati Kali Sindh Chambal link project to be integrated with the Eastern Rajasthan Canal project as a part of the National Perspective Plan. The project aims at optimal utilization of water in the Chambal Basin. It proposes to provide drinking and industrial water in 13 districts of Eastern Rajasthan, Malwa and Chambal regions of Madhya Pradesh. Also, Eastern Rajasthan Canal project envisaged intra-basin transfer of water within the Chambal Basin from Kali Sindh, Parvati, Mej and Chakan sub-basins and to water deficit sub-basins of Banas, Gambhiri, Banganga and Parvati. If we talk about river interlinking, then it aims to connect rivers or water bodies through artificial channels to transfer water from surplus basins to deficit basins. Now let's talk about the significance of river interlinking. It helps in disaster management by flood and drought mitigation. Further, in the economical aspect, it improves irrigation, hydropower generation, and inland navigation. Also, it helps in restoration of river ecosystems and support biodiversity in water deficit basins. However, there are also some concerns with river interlinking, like loss of biodiversity and displacement of communities. At last, let's also talk about the National Perspective Plan. It was formulated in 1980 by the then Ministry of Irrigation, now the Ministry of Jal Shakti, and the Central Water Commission. It envisages inter-basin transfer of water to minimize regional imbalances. It is comprised of 30 link projects under two components, which are Himalayan component and Peninsular component. The place in news for today is Jordan with its capital Amman. It is in the news as recently there was a drone strike on American troops in northeast Jordan near the Syria border. Talking about its political features, it is an Arab country of Southwest Asia, bounded by Syria in the north, Iraq in east, Saudi Arabia in southeast and south, and Israel in west. Al-Aqaba, a port town, is located in the southwestern part of Jordan along the coasts of Gulf of Aqaba. Talking about its geographical features, its major rivers are Jordan, Yarmouk and Zarqa, and its highest point is Jabal ad-Dami. As we conclude today's main news, let's take a look at some quick updates. The Supreme Court recently held that the statutory right to default bail cannot be availed once the charge sheet is filed. Court added that default bail cannot be availed on grounds of incomplete submission of charge sheet or pending investigation against other co-accused. Default bail, also known as compulsive or statutory bail, is provided under Section 167 Clause 2 of CRPC. It affords protection to accused against detention due to inordinate delays in completion of investigation and filing of charge sheet within time frames stipulated by law. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger announced their immediate withdrawal from the West African Bloc Economic Community of West African States. ECOWAS is a regional group of 15 members including Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, established in 1975 through Treaty of Lagos. Sadat and Sikh, a joint military exercise between India and Saudi Arabia. Its inaugural edition will be held from January 29 to February 10 in Rajasthan. Laughing Gull from North America spotted at Chittari Estuary in Kasaragod district of Kerala for the first time. Laughing Gull is known for its unique laughter-like calls. Its habitat is in coastal regions, especially common around beaches and salt marshes. Its IUCN status is least concern. India's space telescope AstroSat has for the first time measured X-ray polarization from Cygnus X1 black hole. Cygnus X1 is one of the first confirmed black hole systems in our galaxy. AstroSat was launched by ISRO in 2015 using PSLV C-30 in low Earth orbit. It is the first dedicated Indian astronomy mission with a multi-wavelength space observatory. A new crowd-funded phone called the Minimal Phone has featured a white e-ink display. E-ink display is a screen that aims to replicate the experience of reading and writing on paper. It works using tiny microcapsules filled with positively charged white particles and negatively charged black ones, suspended in a fluid. By electric charges, white or black particles can be made to rise, creating the text and images on the display. Toyota Motor Corp is aiming to roll out next-generation solid-state batteries over the next 3 years. In solid-state batteries, liquid electrolyte is replaced by solid-state material which acts as both separator and electrolyte. This allows ions which convey electricity to move faster, thus enabling shorter charging times. It has higher energy density than a lithium-ion battery that uses liquid electrolyte solution. President approved conferment of 132 Padma Awards for 2024. Padma Awards are one of the highest civilian honors of India announced annually, except for brief interruptions during the years 1978 and 1979 and 1993 to 1997 to recognize achievements in all fields of activities or disciplines involving public service. Padma Vibhushan was instituted in 1954 and had 3 classes, namely Pehla Varg, Dusra Varg and Tisra Varg. Renamed in January 1955 as Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri. It is not a title under Article 18. Before we go, it's time to put your knowledge to test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of News Today. To get the answers to today's quiz and to download the PDF of News Today, make sure to check out the links in the description below.